only rewarding their best efforts, so either longer duration or more pecks. When you're getting a pretty consistent pecking, yes. Then, there goes the cat again. Then I start adding, yes, get off there. Then I start adding in my verbal drawn out that comes off when they come off of it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. She has a really hard time working away from treats. Yes, yes, good girly. Yes, good girly. Yes, good girly. Yes, good girly. Now I'm running out of treats. And that's how we start to get a sustained nose touch. Hers is messy, and it's really messy when I have the treat right in my hand. And sometimes I just sit with my hand out and watch TV, and I wait till I get a really good long touch and reward it. And we figure out what we get. So, now, the other thing, briefly, I wanted to mention is, okay, come here. You need to come lie down. Lie down. Get out of the way. Lie down. Stay. When do we use a clicker and why? The why is easy. When you use a clicker, you're pairing that clicker with a reinforcement, which is usually food. I pair my clicker with food only. I don't usually pair it with a toy. I use a verbal if it's going to be a toy, just for continuity's sake, and so the dogs always know what they're going to get. Other people do differently. I do believe in beating cats, by the way. So we do that, and the reason we use a click instead of a verbal at times is because the click does not require as much processing as saying like yes or good or what have you. The click actually works through a part of the brain called the amygdala, which is sort of the primitive part of the brain. It's what people sometimes will call the pleasure center of the brain. And so it actually gets to where it triggers a release of those chemicals that cause all those good feelings without the dog having to mentally process it any more than the hearing. And so that's why the clicker sometimes works really well. So that being said, do I always use a clicker? No, I do not. I use a clicker usually when I'm teaching new things, when I'm teaching things that I want to pinpoint something very precise, when I want to really build motivation, or when I really want to build confidence. I specifically don't use the clicker if I'm working on something where I want to build duration. So when we're working with this sock in our hand, I'm probably going to suggest you not use your clicker for that unless you're really having trouble getting the dog interested in it, in which case we default back to confidence and motivation above all else, and I'll use the clicker there. The other thing I don't like to do is I don't like to use a clicker really close to their face. So when both hands are close to the face, for some dogs that's just painful. It's too loud by their ears. So I'll use a softer clicker rather than the box clickers. The little ones with the kind of rounded off edges and the raised button are a little bit softer, or you can use a pin clicker or the little old-fashioned metal crickets, or any other noise. It's just a noise that they don't hear normally any other time, that they don't have to think about. And the way I always think of it is, think of it if you hear that clicker versus if you are watching TV, like say on the Spanish channel, and you don't speak Spanish, and I ask you to pick out one particular Spanish word every time. You're going to have to focus a lot more on what they're saying, and you're going to have to mentally process it when you're looking for that foreign language word. And basically our words for the dogs are all foreign language words. The sound is crisp, it's clean. In some cases we like it because it's non-emotional. I don't always like to be non-emotional. Most of you will notice that I'm not very non-emotional when I train my dogs, but you can always add that on your own. I am a person who doesn't believe that you have to be solemn and silent when you're clicker training. I let the dog know how I'm feeling as well, and that's fine. Safi. So that's where we sometimes choose to use clickers. When you're reinforcing, and you're reinforcing with food, you can get stuck in a rut. Oh, here's the cat coming to join in. You can get stuck in a rut of being a Pez dispenser, and for every behavior they offer, you give them a treat, you give them a treat, you give them a treat. And so the behavior never progresses. So once you get a few reps that you've been able to reinforce, you start asking for just a little bit more. And so when I start out, for example, with duration, a lot of times I'll count out loud, and I'll have her touch it, and I'll say 1, and I'll reward. 1, reward, 1, reward, 1 and reward. 1 and reward, 1 and 2 and reward. And that helps to keep you honest and stretching out your timing a little bit. It's hard when you're just guessing at it. Yay, you're a very good girl. You're a very good girl. Yes, and see how now she's coming and offering behavior and she's not getting reinforced? So see how much stronger the behavior gets? So she gets a bigger cookie and a jackpot for that one. You've got to, at some point, start to randomize your reinforcement. Only reinforce the best episodes, or the best efforts, which I don't think you can see because her head is back to you. But she's doing pretty well. She's doing better than she was before. Part of that is because the cookies are all the way up here where she doesn't think she can grab them. Good girl. So the other thing is you should be able to reinforce without cookies. And what I notice with a lot of us that train is a lot of us don't really interact with our dogs a whole lot if it doesn't involve a cookie and a task. I would like to see, as a side effect of this class, it's not the primary purpose of this class, but I'd really like to see you all develop a play relationship with your dog, and that looks different for every handler and every dog. For me and my dogs, it's usually loud. For a lot of dogs, it may not look like that. They may be offended by that. They may not like it. So, for example, if I want to play with her, and I may be sitting on the couch and we want to play this game and reward it a little bit, but I don't have any cookies. I told y'all I'm a lazy trainer. I'm not going to get up and go get cookies. So I'm going to say, ready, Seffi, can you up? Yes. Can you up it? Yeah, good girlie, yes. And one of the things I'll do is I'll push her away. Yeah. Which most dogs find that kind of fun, and it makes them drive forward even more. Yeah. Yeah. Yay, good girlie, I got you. I'll let them, my dogs like to bite me. They like to bite me. Oh, you can't see. They like to bite me. I'm too close into here, but she likes to put her mouth. We play Schutz on Sheltie, and she puts her mouth on me and bites me. And I sort of knock on her cheeks. We played this for a little bit before we started, and she's kind of fizzled out too. But I would like to be able to see you be able to play a game with a dog that doesn't involve anything but you and the dog, and that you both enjoy. And with my dogs, it's probably going to involve pushing them, poking them, teasing them, being loud, and things like that. With Marianne Schmidt-Horst's Edgy, that would cause Edgy to have a case of the vapors, and she'd have to go back to her palace and take about a week to recover. She would be horrified by that. So you have to be a little bit more creative in finding what works for those dogs. It might be blowing in their face. It might be doing a little yeah. It might be making a silly noise. But just play some games with the dog that are just you and the dog. They're not oriented around getting anything or accomplishing anything. And there's actually some very good classes on play on some of the online courses as well. And if you have trouble with that, that's something that you might want to think about. Sometimes I'll reward with a toy, and it depends a little bit. My Shelties tend to be very food motivated and moderately toy motivated. When Safi came to me about 3.5 months ago, she had Zippo desire to pick up and bring a toy back to me. She probably would chase it, and she might play keep away with another dog, but to pick it up and bring it to me just was not in her little lexicon of behaviors. And so she's gotten to where she enjoys playing tug. She's a moderate tugger. She's not a crazy tugger, but she really likes to retrieve because she's been really reinforced for that since she comes home. Safi, ready? Ready? Go get it. Go get it. Oh, and now the cat's going to beat her to it. You're making a liar of me. Go get it. Yay, good girl. She's also very tired because we just come home from class and she's just had a big dinner, which is not when I'd encourage you to do that. Yeah, good girlie. Good girlie. Good girlie. Yay. So we're not the best demonstrators of play right now. But your dog doesn't have to tug. They don't have to retrieve. They don't have to play with a toy. But they're all good things to have in your toolbox. And working to find things that make your dog happy. Our dogs do a lot of things for us. They put up with a lot of crazy crap from their standpoint. I would like to see you all make a project out of finding something that just makes your dogs happy. And if you're not asking for anything, you're not expecting anything. That doesn't mean we may not use it to our advantage in the future, but it's just a relationship building thing. And so I'd like to see you be able to play with your dog, whatever that means to you. And remember too, one of the other things we talked about is that if you want your dog to be up and motivated and working quickly, then you have to sort of project that to them. And when you want them to be calm and quiet, same thing, you have to sort of project that to them. Y'all might have noticed I don't move too quickly. And so up and moving quickly looks different for me and my dogs. They do a lot of moving quickly and I do a lot of loud. And that's our compromise between the two of them. But it looks different for everybody. Don't feel like because yours doesn't look like the high drive crazy Schutzen Malinois that it's not reinforcing for your dog and for you. So spend a little time thinking about that. Find that. There's your resource to go back to, although I will say that they were not our best efforts tonight. We're all fizzled out, aren't we, babe? And now they're on video to come back and bite me in the butt for the foreseeable future. So we will see you all next week.